Hey everyone, just a quick little note. What you're about to watch is a live stream that was recorded for you. And afterwards, as a post-credit scene, we do have an additional clip that's inserted that talks about the button mapping and the button lighting. And if you want to get a little more in depth with that, that content is there for you. So thanks and enjoy. Hey everyone, Dave here from OSGTTV. Hope everyone's having a great Thursday. It is, what the heck is it? It's February 19th, 2026, and we are here with our favorite little toy, the Atari Gamestation Go. Good grief, good evening to you, my friend. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. Thanks for the heads up just a minute or two ago. I can't believe I pulled that rookie mistake. There we go. All right. Well, if any of you out there are lucky enough to have purchased one of these My Arcade Gamestation Goes, release date was October of 2025, you will know that it came packed in with an awesome hardware feature. It has Wi-Fi capabilities. What do you do with this Wi-Fi? You don't play games, but it does allow you to do firmware updates on this thing, which means, hey, there's probably a lot of firmware updates coming out for this thing, right? Yeah, yeah. If they find little glitches, want to add some games, who knows, maybe install new features. You know, they got the Wi-Fi built in. It should be easy to add those things to the console here. So, unit released, and we got our first firmware update within a week, like within a week or two of release. It was wonderful. They fixed a lot of issues remained, and here we are just waiting patiently for another firmware update. Fast forward to middle of the month in February and nothing. We are still stuck on the same firmware update we've got back in the end of October or beginning of November. And what do you do with this thing when it's just, you know, it has a lot of cool features to it, but it's just not fine-tuned to the way you want it to be. What do? You install your own custom firmware. That's what you do. And guess what we're doing tonight? That's right. It's Tech Time with Dave, OSGTTV. Let's get started. Okay, that was a little over the top.
Doors slide open, air smells like dust and sugar, flicker in the corner calling out my name. Old high score list, my initials halfway down it, pockets heavy jangling like I never changed. Retro to this day, stacking quarters just to stay, wasting all my daylight, chasing pixels, chasing fate. Retro to this day, I grew up, but I remain right here in the glow. Retro to this day.
All right, good grief, and anyone else out there watching, good evening to you. Welcome to the show. This is a big one. Just found out today we finally have a firmware update for the Gamestation Go. The trick is it's not released by My Arcade. It's released by the normal average Joe, someone like you and I. Leave it to us to finally have to do something to this thing to make it better and to fix some of the problems. You know, I'm not shocked, but I'm just kind of sad, right? I'm kind of sad. I'm kind of glad. All wrapped up in one. That's right. Take matters into your own hands, and I am now realizing not only do I need to take matters into my own hands, I need to fix my stream. So let's take this real quick. Hold on. Here it goes. Wait. We're going here. We're going here. We're going back here. We're going back here. There we go. Now the chat will show on the screen. I had to find my chat window and actually get it enabled on the screen. Because I threw the screen together at the last minute because I didn't know we were going to be doing Tech Time with Dave tonight. You know what I need? I really need some intro music for like Tech Time with Dave. That would be cool. Maybe I got to make one of those funky AI songs or something like that. Who knows? We need Tech Time with Dave. All right. So yeah, firmware is happening tonight. We're going to load it on this thing. We're going to do it live. If I end up bricking my system, you're going to see it live here on OSGT TV. It's going to be a wonderful night. Well, I mean, it's not going to be wonderful if I brick my system, but you know what I mean. We're going to pop open a couple windows here that we're going to use. This information, if you want to brick your own Atari Gamestation Go, my arcade Gamestation Go, all you got to do is go out to Atari Age and look at the forums out there. And Bucky's Revenge is the one that is posting the instructions here for us. I've seen some of Bucky Revenge's videos out on YouTube. Awesome videos. Subscribe to him, follow him. Been kind of looking at some of the updates he's been doing along the way, so been kind of stoked for it. Been patiently waiting for the update.
This Justin, it's Tech Time with Dave, brought you by All Things Technical.
Wow, there you go. We've got a new intro song. I like that. Now we just got to put it to some music, right? So if I knew someone that worked a lot in AI, you know, maybe he could do that for me. He could throw those lyrics into AI music generators and produce us a song. That would be kind of cool. Getting back to the Atari Age post here. So this is as of Monday. So Monday would have been, 4 days ago, February 15th. Information will change in the future as he tweaks the software, throws out or changes some instructions, but we're going to read through this real quick, and then we're going to go through the procedure and update the Gamestation Go. The doo-doos were supposed to mimic the opening sound of like a news broadcast. Oh, there you go. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Special feature. Yeah, I'm no good at that. That's from like the 70s or 80s when they used to have those kind of sound effects. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Kind of like a Morse code kind of beeping or something like that. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Anywho, Gamestation Go 1.1 custom firmware patch or release notes. From what I understand, you do have to have your console upgraded to the 1.1 firmware. I know a lot of people held off from updating it from the 1.1 from the 1.0 firmware because it had more side-loading capabilities, but you do have to go to 1.1 to do this. And let's read through this real quick. Bucky's Revenge. Thank you, Bucky's. Hey, you finally had some time to finish things up, so here are some of the details. This update should be done at your own risk. We've been able to successfully do this update on a number of devices, but can't guarantee that you won't have problems installing it. I'm going to just pause right there. I'm going to say, if you're here for the quick 5-minute version, the short quick time video, what am I thinking of? The Reels video on Facebook. This isn't the 2-minute summary of this. We're doing this live. We are reading through the whole thing. So sit back, grab some coffee, and enjoy the show. This update should be done at your own risk. We have been able to successfully do this update on a number of devices, but can't guarantee that you won't have problems installing it. We will, however, try to help you out if you have problems. This update can only be applied to the official 1.1 firmware. If you are on 1.0 and want to install our patch, you need to do update to 1.1 first. I'm going to assume, and you know what happens when we assume, is that if there were, oh, it's raining out. I gotta see if there's rain coming in my window. If there was a 1.2 firmware patch released by My Arcade, you know, I'm not holding my breath. I'm not putting my money on it. But if there was, you probably need to keep it at 1.1 to put this update on. Or what happens if you put 1.2 on in the future? I don't know. Maybe someone asks that question later on in this thread. We're not going to read through this whole thread. We're just going to read through the instructions piece of it for this point. There are 3 downloads to get, and they're all available in the Google Drive. We got all those files ready to go somewhere over on the left-hand side over here. We're ready to go. We got firmware update PDF with our instructions. We got the patcher zip file. We got the folders file zip. Note some of the screenshots in the instructions use a different name for one of the zip files, but instructions should be the same. Here are some of the details of what's been updated. This is the good stuff. I honestly haven't read this, so this is brand new to me as well. I knew this was all out here, and I just grabbed what I needed to get ready for tonight. So let's read what they all include here. So game folders. Our setup has named game folders for each system. 2600, Sega Genesis, NES. Games must be placed in the correct folder in order to run with the appropriate emulator. Each folder under the games contains a README file explaining the expected file extension, required BIOS files, and button mapping for that particular system. See attached image in this post for existing folders. We're going to pause right there one more time and put another asterisk here. The files we're going to be working with tonight, My Arcade already gave us the ability to sideload our own software onto this thing and play with it. And holy cow, is that rain coming down. I might have to close my window. So they already gave us the ability to sideload and put software on. But this is just an alternative way to sideload and put software on. Probably a little more fully featured. Maybe we'll read through here, customizable buttons, hopefully, and things like that. But what we're going to do is, as far as games we're going to work with here tonight, we're just going to work with games that are already included on the Gamestation Go, you know, because I don't want to run into any issues with, you know, loading up tons of games and talking about legalities of things and stuff like that. So we're just going to work with game files that are already on this system and get a bunch of things to work. So that's kind of the disclaimer there. So save states. These are available for all games installed on the SD card through the settings menu. Oh, that's cool. They have save states now for all the sideloading games. They did not have that before. There are some systems that also have hotkeys set up on the keypad for saving and loading a save state, including 2600 paddle, systems with dedicated keypad support, and MAME. This will be indicated in the system's README file. That is way cool. So what he's saying by that, and I think I saw this in one of his videos, is that you have this cool number pad on the side that's for like Atari 5200 games, which never really gets used for anything. Certain numbers light up when you have quick saves on there, and you can just hit that number and get back into your game and load up your save points. So that's kind of cool. I'm digging that. Illuminated control mapping. Appropriate buttons and controls that each system uses should light up when launching a game. That's really cool too. That's a feature that My Arcade has in the base system for their games. So you know, if 2 of the 8 buttons are used, and it highlights those 2 buttons. It sounds like this custom stuff, instead of just highlighting everything, which it did before, will highlight more specifically what we need. Automatic aspect ratio adjustment for vertical MAME games. Under the MAME folder, there is a folder called vertical. Place any game in there that is vertical based and they will automatically display in the 3:4 ratio. That's cool, because before, what happens is that all of your MAME games will stretch as wide as it can, like across the screen. So if you have like a vertical game like Galaga, Ms. Pac-Man, whatever like that, it would be stretched. There was a stupid trick on it that you could get it to be the normal size. But what you had to do is boot up into the normal games that come on the system. You had to launch Pac-Man for some reason, which they finally got Pac-Man to work in the correct aspect ratio. And then once Pac-Man is running, you had to power off the machine, power it back on, go to your SD card, go to MAME, run your Ms. Pac-Man, Galaga, or whatever, and then it would be in the correct aspect ratio. If you wanted to reverse that, because what you would find is that all of your 4:3 games, like Ninja Turtles or something like that, that should be stretched across the screen, is now also smushed. So what you had to do is reboot your machine once again. Instead of going into Pac-Man, the built-in Pac-Man this time, you had to go into a built-in something else that's more 4:3 aspect ratio, like an Atari 2600 game. Power the system off, power the system on. Go into your MAME folder, launch something like Ninja Turtles, and now it is the correct size again. So there's a lot of back and forth. I know that's a long explanation, but oh my gosh, I'm thirsty. I need some Mountain Dew after that one. That was a long explanation. What else we got? This is, oh my gosh. This almost, okay, we'll keep this PG rated. I was going to say this almost, how can I say this? I'm not going to say it. It gets me excited, this next one. Trackball and spinner support in MAME. For the love of God, when my arcade did the side loading in MAME, all you could use is the D-pad and the buttons. What good is that? Why do you bother releasing a console with all these cool freaking controls and not include the ability to use them? I know side loading is a little extra thing that they threw in to make people happy, but the controls are on this thing. That's why we bought this thing. For the love of God, get those controls working. So now we have trackball and spinner support in MAME. MAME settings may need to be adjusted to properly set the sensitivity depending on a game. Oh my gosh. You know what? Not only do they have the trackball and spinner active, they have sensitivity working on it, which is also something that was almost non-existent in the My Arcade game setup. So yeah, Pete. Damn it, Pete. For the love of Pete. All right, we added some extra emulation cores. We're not going to get too much into that tonight. We may have one little surprise or two for you, but because of other games we technically do own, and we might try something else out. But added extra emulation cores. See the attached image for what cores are set up. More cores can potentially be added if you know what you're doing. As of right now, I don't know what I'm doing. So, but I'm sure I will, because I like to learn. So better button mapping. Oh, another hallelujah. Better button mapping and the ability to adjust the mapping. This is almost as big as using the spinner and the dial. Adjusted the button mapping to many console systems. The button mapping will be explained in the system's README file. Note that button remapping currently requires manually editing some config files. We can handle that. And the launch script for proper button lighting, which is to be expected. Not recommended for those unfamiliar with the process. Be sure to back up any file before you edit it. as you can see here, this is kind of maybe a good example. These two buttons are highlighted right now, the top and bottom, the A button and the Y button. A lot of the side loading systems, for some reason, if they had a 2-button layout like your NES controller or a Sega Master System with 2 buttons, something like that, normally you're looking for A and B to be the 2 buttons you use, right? No, what my arcade did is they released the side loading, so you had to use the A and Y buttons. Or if they had 2 buttons next to each other, they were backwards. So imagine playing NES Mario Brothers or something like that. And you normally hold one button down and then flip the other one with the tip of your thumb to jump, You can't do that when the buttons are reversed and A is B and B is A. It's just too hard. So yeah, so all this is awesome. We can take some screenshots, it looks like. A dedicated screenshot hotkey on the keypad. So one of the 5200 buttons takes your screenshots, stored on the SD card. Multi-disc support for PlayStation games. Super cool, super huge. I don't know how much PlayStation I'll be doing on here, but like I said, I'll be playing with some of the titles that we do own and play with some of that. So that's cool. The discs are switched via dedicated hotkeys. Better get your broom. What a mess. The ability to get back to the SD card menu from the main system games without ejecting the SD card. Ability to get back to the SD card menu from the main system games without ejecting the SD card. I'm trying to think of what this is. Excluding the Recharged and Balls of Steel's games, if you are in a game running off the main system, before you exit, hold down. Okay, so you don't have to you don't have to power off the thing and power to get to your SD card. Maybe there's some other things. I can't remember them right now. I like secrets. Secrets are fun. Huge thanks. Here we go. Uncle Ted, E. Smith 13th, Mick Kafka 99, Lydium Neon Nitwit, Dodger 2020, Zero Null Void, Rook. Some testers not on these forums. I wish I should have got involved in this. And anyone else I forgot to mention that helped me get this going. Plus, we should thank My Arcade for making this device. It's unique enough for us to care to make it work even better. Is that like a backhanded slap in the face, kinda? It's unique enough for us to care to make it work even better. I don't know. I like that wording there. There's something hidden in those words there. At least the way I'm reading it. So, note about folder organization: games will only load properly. I took it as a backhand compliment, yeah. Note about folder organization: games will only load properly from the root game folders. MAME, NES, Game Boy, not from subfolders under these folders. Okay, so everything that we have here, we will have to just plop everything underneath, it looks like. So we'll be allowing more folder organization in later updates. And that's the post. And then we just say there's there's a follow-up post here. The just released version of our patch is based on My Arcade's implementation of RetroArch. So there are some unorthodox folder and config setups for those familiar with the software. We do plan another release, no ETA as a win, with a full version of RetroArch. That's interesting. Compiled by Uncle Ted, which is currently going through some limited internal testing. It will come with a full settings menu and proper aspect ratio for all consoles. My Arcades is restricted to 4.3, 3.4, 16.9, including tape mode if you want to. Rotate mode is rotated screen. Rotate so you can play your vertical screen games on there. Here they show a sample of Arkanoid, which is interesting because you would think it should be rotated the other way. Maybe it can be. Like if I'm holding the system, I'm going to want to hold it this way so that I'm doing my dial on the bottom, and maybe use the D-pad as my button instead of holding it this way, because that's just a little bit awkward. I don't know. Anyway, if it's there, that's cool. Maybe you can flip it the other way. Maybe that can be suggested for a future release. I don't know. All right, so those are Bucky's Revenge's 2 posts here. Let's get to the fun and upgrade this thing. We got our PDF file here. Let's get this right in the middle. We're going to follow this, hopefully step for step. I think we got everything ready to go, so let's do this. Procedure, documents, upgrading the Atari Gamestation Go. It's actually the My Arcade Gamestation Go. With, I don't know how they really call that. How they really, I guess it could be an Atari Gamestation Go. I don't know. Under Windows with custom firmware. It covers running both the patcher programs as well as updating the micro SD card folder. Preparation. Your system should be running firmware 1.1. It is. If it's not, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then we downloaded our files. Running patcher programs. Copy GSG11 patcher into an empty folder on your PC. So we're going to take this. We are going to just extract that into its own folder. Here's our files. Unzip the GSG11 patcher. Oh, is this maybe where they called things the wrong thing? Or did they have it twice? I don't know. Oh, copy. Okay, I see. Copy the zip into a folder and then unzip it. Okay, so we just did it. Making sure GSG is not connected to the computer. Run the tools Windows driver installer installer.exe. Driver installer exe. It's extracting driver files. This is kind of similar because when you're going to hook up a retro mini device to your computer, you have to kind of load some drivers on that they set up so that the USB can communicate to it. This isn't anything new. This is similar to the process used on like the Super Nintendo Mini or the NES Mini. All right, it's done. Note if you have UAC enabled, you'll get a prompt asking if you want to make changes. Just select yes. If you get any other messages about being an unknown publisher, which is your firewall stuff yelling at you, then whatever. This program will run. Once it completes, the window will disappear. Verify your GSG is not turned on. Plug in the GSG into the computer with a USB-C to USB-A cable. Now, I'm assuming you can't just use any cable with this. You probably have to have a data cable that allows it to recognize as a data device. We may have to try a few different cables to do this, but let's try this cable first because it's right here. And if I freeze up my camera here, I'll fix my camera. Sometimes when I plug things in, it freezes my camera. It hasn't frozen yet. Wow, I can't believe it didn't freeze actually. All right, let's plug it into the device, power it off, plug it in. Hold down the volume down button on the GSG, and while that is held down, turn on the power. Once the device connected sound is played on the computer, the dink, the volume down can be released. Here we go. All right, I heard the sound. I'm releasing. The sound should be played within a few seconds. If the step is done correctly, the GSG screen will be blank. Yes, it is. The battery and the LED light should still be on. It is. If the screen is on and or the device is at the main menu, turn off the GSG and repeat this step. Run the install. Fire in the hole. Run the install. CFW WinBat from the 11 patcher directory. A command prompt window will open as the batch file runs. This step will take some time. All right. So let's go back. Let's go back. Here it is. Install CFW WinBat. Here we go. Never run untrusted software on your computer, kids. Unless you're an experienced IT professional. A command prompt will open as the batch file runs. This setup will take some time. Do not disconnect or power off the GSG while this command prompt is open. The process does a full backup and the device before patching, and this can take some time. It's going to do a lot of that. Looks like we are at 6%, 7%. If the patcher is successful, the command prompt will close by itself and the GSG screen will turn on by itself. All right. So I don't know if this has to technically go all the way up to 100%, but this is what we got so far. Who knows a good joke while we're waiting? Firmware update from my arcade on the Gamestation Go. That is a good joke. Yeah, so it'll be interesting what happens when and if they actually do come out with a firmware update. What that will mean for this. You know, will we be allowed to do the update? Will we have to not do the update because this will mess with it? Like I said, I'll read through the stuff in the forum. I'll talk to Bucky on the side. I'll find out what the deal is if they don't talk about it. And yeah, some things are better left patched than upgraded. So we'll see. So yeah, this has been out since October. I have been, okay, since we got some time to talk stories here, I'll tell you guys a little bedtime story here. Bedtime story with Dave. And I think I may have mentioned this to Good Grief already, but every night when I go to bed, so I go to bed like 10 or 11, you know, just so I can get like a good 5 or 6 hours of sleep at night. Every night when I go to bed, this thing is sitting on my nightstand next to me. I might play a game or two of something really quick just for like 2 minutes and then put it down. But the one thing I do every night, even if I'm not playing a game, is I go into the settings and I check for a firmware update. And I'm just waiting for that one day where it says a new firmware update is available from 1.1, you know, to 1.2. And I honestly, for the last 2 to 3 months, I've been doing that every night. You know, it's sad to admit that, but I do check it every night. You know, it takes like a minute to turn it on and get to the menu system and go and check it out. But yeah, disappointing every night. It's kind of like waiting for Santa Claus, and Santa Claus like never shows up. You know, that's not sad. That's being excited. That is being excited, you know, because this thing, honestly, this thing is a cool product. I think they just my arcade tried to overachieve a little bit with this. they tried to add a little more into this than the hardware can really handle. They didn't put as much love into setting up the controls as a super uber geek like one of us would do. The quality testing just wasn't there like someone who loves gaming and loves consoles and who would go through every game and make sure everything is quality controlled. They just didn't have that, but the device itself, it is awesome. I just wish either it came out complete with all the fixes to make it worth the $180, or it would have been a lot cheaper, and then I could have stomached the stuff that doesn't work. If it would have came out for like $90, $90 to $100, it's got a big screen, it's got some cool controls for some of the games, so even though I bash this thing in a lot of my videos, I do honestly love it and I want it to succeed. And that's why I'm putting this custom firmware on here, because I want to get the most I can get out of this thing. So, I mean, I don't really have a handheld system. I mean, I do have a Nintendo Switch, but you're really limited to what you can do on a Nintendo Switch because it's all locked down, right? You can't just go and load in your own custom software and do your own thing with it. Oh, excuse me. Everything cool you want to do with a Nintendo Switch, whether it's an add-on or something, it costs money. This is a one-time purchase up front. You get all the cool controls. You just want to be able to use them, right? So they do have the new controllers out now. So if you wanted like a second player controller that you can plug in via the USB port in the back of this thing, they do have a secondary controller you can buy. It's more smaller, like a Nintendo Switch gamepad kind of deal. It does have the spinner, the trackball, the D-pad, the buttons. It even has the number pad on the side and all the triggers, just like all the same controls you see on here, but built into a smaller, more compact thing. But it's like $60. So if your games would actually utilize everything the way they should, it's a cool controller. $60 is the price of any game controller, right? So it's not that outrageous of a price. But when only some of the controls work for some of the games, then is it worth $60? Then it's a D-pad with some buttons. And you can get that anywhere, right? Kind of like XMP for RAM. Yep, exactly. So this does, my arcade, I do love this thing. It has the ability to be one of the coolest handhelds you could get, especially for retro gaming. We just need the features unlocked, Once the features are unlocked and we can use the tools that are given to us on this thing, this is gonna be something to contend with in the retro community, especially with the huge screen and everything on here. It'd be nice if you could like Wi-Fi to it to load up your SD card and stuff like that, but hey, it's okay. It's not a problem popping that SD card out of here and loading more stuff up on that. So exciting to crack that safe. And that's why I was so excited to do this stream tonight for the update, because I want to see this thing at its, showing us its full potential. And while we're still, it sounds like we read through all the included options in here. While it doesn't give us everything that we could possibly want, it gives us a lot of stuff we want. So this is a major update. Ooh, we got a big warning on the screen. It's writing now, do not turn off or unplug device. I probably should have checked my battery life before I started They should probably include that in the instructions. Oh, success. Waiting for 1 second. Oh, it's loading. We got a loading screen coming up here. And once we get to using this, we'll put the HDMI cable in here and we'll pop it on full screen so you can all see what I see, so we don't have to watch through this little window here. I'm just doing this desktop mode right now just until we get this thing set up. So, all right, so we're back at the Atari main menu. Is anything different here? I'm just looking to see if this, whatever firmware updated change, if anything changes here. Doesn't look like it is. I'm just going through the system. Yeah, everything looks stock as far as the My Arcade screen goes. Let's go read the instructions. To run the stock pre-installed programs, disconnect the USB cable from the GSG and select local storage. Disconnect the cable from the GSG. I don't have my SD card in there. I should probably have my SD card in there. Well, that's kind of nice. It pops up with the menu right when you pop the SD card in there. I don't know if it did that before because I always turn it off and turn it on. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the SD card in my computer quick, and we're going to just kind of wipe out my folder structure on there. From what I understand, your SD card does have to be set up as exFAT, which it already is. So these are the files on my SD card presently. I did back them up. I put a copy of it into my downloads folder already. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to wipe out. I'm going to wipe out everything that's on here. It's like one of your kids, GG says, it's like one of your kids that just weren't grasping things and you're really pulling for them because you saw the potential was there, but now you see what they're capable of when they unlock that full potential. Exactly. And you want the best for your kids, right? You always do. All right, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Let's read the instructions before we do this, because maybe we'll plug the HDMI cable in here. Okay, so disconnect USB cable from the GSG local storage to update the micro SD card with updated folders. Follow the next section. Copy the SD card folders file into an empty folder. Unzip the SD cards folder into that empty folder. Plug in Oh, I see. Okay, I was misreading that. So let's go up towards the top. To run the stock pre-installed programs, disconnect the USB cable and local storage. That's kind of what we were looking at. We were looking at the default menu by My Arcade and Atari. And now we want to do this part. So let's get our SD card back in there one more time. What did I do with it? Here it is. We're going to pop that back in the computer. This is going to set up the folder structure on this thing. Oh, there goes my camera. Now it's frozen up. I was kind of wondering how I was getting so lucky that my camera wasn't freezing up. And now that it's back, it's like really lost its settings, so we got to fix this really quick. We gotta fix this quick. Logitech cameras are nice, but anytime you gotta like reconnect them, you lose all of your settings in OBS, and it's like the most annoying thing in the world, and I haven't found a way around it yet. All right, let's do this. Here's our SD card. Let's go back to our okay, so we have an SD card folders files 1.1. We have an SD cards folder files 1.2. We are going to take the 1.02 and use that because it probably sounds like it's newer. All right, I'm assuming we're just going to copy all these files onto our SD card, but let's read this. Plug in the micro SD card. If it's not formatted in exFAT, do that. We're all set. Copy the contents of the folder SD card folders to the root directory of the micro SD card. We're going to copy this. We're going to put it into our SD card. Working. Copy over games to the respective game subfolders. Each folder has a README text file which indicates the expected file extensions, button mappings, and other notes. We're not really going to get into the button mapping stuff tonight. We're just going to kind of go to get things playing. Maybe we'll come back and work on the lights and stuff, or maybe if we can get through this really quick, maybe we'll spend a few minutes on it. But that part is a little above and beyond what we're expecting to get done here tonight. So if we go into games here, here's everything they are saying is working at this point. So we got Atari 2600 paddle games, 5200, 7800, Lynx, Doom, Game Boy Advance, Color, and Television, MAME, Neo Geo Pocket Color, NES, PC Engine CD, PlayStation, Scum VM games, Sega 32X, Sega CD, Sega Game Gear, Sega Genesis, Sega Master System, SNES, Wonder Swan Color, and that looks like it at this point. So we do have a few games we're going to copy in. Like I said, these are games that are already on the Atari Gamestation Go, so you're not going to be seeing any super new cool games here running, say, like in Sega CD mode or something like that, because we're not going to get into that here. We're just going to use some of the same software that we can just see it working in the new side loading portion, maybe with some cool controls, maybe some trackball or dial where it never worked before. So that's kind of what we're shooting for here. Let's go to new files. Let's go to MAME. We are going to copy a few extra files in here. It doesn't mean we're going to use them, but we may copy a few extra files in here. And then we have a vertical folder. So we've got vertical games. We got Pac-Man. That's a vertical game, right? So let's move Pac-Man into the vertical folder. We got Arkanoid. That's a vertical game. Centipede is vertical. I think this Monte Carlo game was vertical. I can't remember. Actually, let me boot it up here on the Gamestation Go and go into it and see what it was. Tempest is vertical, right? Turbo is vertical, and Warlords is not. Let's see what the README file says here. All right, so here's the layout here. Place games you want to have vertical aspect ratio in a folder labeled vertical. BIOS files are not required. If you have artwork, you can do an artwork subfolder. If you got samples, you can do a sample subfolder. Note the R2 button on the Gamestation Go will open the main menu where controls can be set. Some games that have artwork files exhibit loud clicking when playing on the Gamestation Go. Either remove the respective artwork file or play via the HDMI output. Interesting. Okay. So I'm just looking on here at one of the games. Why am I not seeing it? Monte Carlo. It was a driving game. It was a driving game, and the arcade game has a steering wheel on it, so which means I would really want to be using the dial spinner on it. But on here, they have it set up so you can only use a D-pad, so that's why I wanted to load up Monte Carlo on here. See if we can actually get it working the way it should be working. I just got to find out where Monte Carlo was. Oh, it was under the Atari games. That's where it was. Atari Arcade. Okay, Atari Arcade. Scrolling down. Like I said, this is real time. This isn't the 5-minute, this is how you do it. Let's test it. Let's end the video. We are doing this all real time. It looks like a full screen game, so we're all set there. Let's go back over here. Let's go to SNES. You'd think I wouldn't want to copy over any SNES games, but guess what? There were a few games that are actually included on this unit. Top Gear 2, and Top Gear 3000. We are going to put those into the SNES folder. And we're going to read the README text here. File extension SFC. Can't be zip files. I don't know. Let's just extract here. We'll do an extract here. So once again, we are adding games that are already on this system. We just want to see them played in the built-in sideloading emulator here. What else we got over here? What else did we prep? Atari 2600. This really wouldn't be anything new. There's no features for this. I just wanted to throw a couple in here. So if we go Atari 2600 paddle on the right side, we can throw in Demons to Diamonds. Once again, I don't think it can be a zip file. We'll unzip it. See if it works. I don't know. Warlords. This is definitely something we want to test because we want to be able to change sensitivity. And then we have Pac-Man, Centipede. We'll just put those in the normal Atari 2600 folder here. These are, once again, games that are already included on this thing. We're not adding anything new here. All right. PlayStation 1. This is not a game that's included here, but we do own this game. So we're just going to throw one on here as a test. Actually, we got two games that we threw in here. Metal Slug X. I don't really know how to put these in here, so we're just gonna put them in here. Note some image files. Oh, I might not even be able to play this. You need a different file extension. PBP. I don't even know what a PBP file is. Instructions and tools for converting from CHD and BinQ can be okay. So chances are I'm not going to be able to try any PS1 files here tonight. So, but we're going to move them over anyway. And we got Ridge Racer. We're just going to throw those over too. Not that we can do anything with them, but who knows? Might be surprised. And what else? Did we grab anything else? Main Atari. Okay, so those are just the few games that we're adding that we're going to test out. So we're going to test screen aspect ratios. We're going to check save spots. We're going to check for MAME control configuration for trackball and spinner. We're going to test sensitivity settings, and we got a really good test for that we're going to be doing, because we all know a game that fails really bad on the My Arcade side of it, which is Warlords. Both the Atari 2600 version and the arcade version are unplayable, even though the spinner dial is active. So we're going to see if this gets it to work like it should in the game. So I'm super excited to try this out. Let me reach down here, grab my super long 25-foot long HDMI cable, get that plugged in here, get that SD card, we'll pop that in, and here we go. This is moment of truth. Are we feeling good about this? I think we are. All right, so we are going to pop open. Oh, did I lose my camera again? Son of a gun. Anytime I touch my computer tower, it seems like it's like going out on me. Kind of weird. But it's a thing. You'd think it was a static thing, but I don't know. I haven't figured it out quite yet. Here we go. Let's see if I can put this on my screen here so I can play off my monitor. Let's get some HDMI volume going here. So another thing that'll be interesting would be, you know, will any of these firmware updates fix like the quality settings? I mean, if, like I was reading earlier, if you load in like a new RetroArch, like another version is going to have, RetroArch could have all different like HDMI out settings and things like that, which may cause HDMI to work better through the side loading. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. All right, so let me move my ugly mug here. We're gonna move my ugly mug down to the corner. We're gonna throw that logo down there. I don't have them attached. Here's our main menu. All the different emus that you can go into. So far, so good. Let's go for the non-exciting things first. Oh, look, see, it does read the zip file. Can we actually launch it with the zip file? Let's try Pac-Man on the zip file. Oh, there you go. We don't have to extract the zip files, which is nice. Get some volume here. We got some ghosts flashing on and off. Sometimes you can see them, sometimes you can't. That's an artifact of the Atari 2600 sprites on the same like horizontal row. They had to do like tricks with that, and they had to make your sprites flash. The reason it's so crappy and hard to see it on this is not because of the stream. It's because of the frame rate. So what I do to get around this on emulators that you have control of is that you can change it to a higher frame rate, and then with the higher frame rate you get the disappearing, like how they just completely disappear. You get that to go away. It makes games like this really hard. It makes like Space Invaders really hard because sometimes the missiles that drop down on the screen, you can't see them. So that is an emulation setting that unfortunately you can't change here. But once they get to the point of loading on their own RetroArch and things like that, I would think that would be configurable. I'm actually going to talk to them in the Atari thread and make sure that that's something that gets set up down the road. We've got Centipede. Working good. So let's go back a menu. Let's go to the paddle games. Let's try Demons to Diamonds. We got some paddle settings. This game too, like your laser that shoots out of your cannon, sometimes it flashes because of the whole sprite thing, so I'm pushing the button all the time. You just can't see my laser shooting out of my cannon all the time. Once again, that is just an artifact of the emulation combined with the frame rate of your TV and connection. So that is configurable in your emulator. So yeah, that's too bad, but we're not going to be playing a lot of 2600 on here anyway, I don't think. Let's go to what we've been waiting to try here. Let's go to MAME. All right, let's go to vertical first. We're going to try some Tempest. Tempest is one of the bigger games on this handheld, and it's actually one of the games they had to correct in the first firmware update. Or wait, the first and only firmware update. Resolution's kind of janky. Maybe on the screen, maybe on the 7-inch screen it looks okay. But stretched on my screen here, it looks a little... Oh, the dial is working. I'm using the dial for this. I'm using the trackball as well. So this is trackball. This is dial. The movement is backwards though. Left is right and right is left, so maybe there's a way to correct that in the main settings. If you remember on Tempest, if you've ever played the arcade game, your thing can move really fast. It had like the spinner on the arcade machine was like a weighted spinner, and you could just take that sucker and spin it and zzz. And while you can't do that on the Gamestation Go, you should be able to move your pointer faster than what I'm moving it here. I mean, I'm spinning this as fast as I can, and this is the response I'm getting. So this is a good test though, because now we want to adjust sensitivity. Let's see what we can do here. Can we do it here? Or does it have to be in text files somewhere? Let's go to analog controls. Let's figure out what button we need to do this. Okay, so it's the Y button. You got the dial. Okay, so here's sensitivity. Let's just crank it up to max to see how crazy it spins. If we go max, I'm using the dial to increase this. Oh, you can go over 100%. Let's just go 100%. Oh yeah, here, dial reverse. Look at that. We're going to turn that on too. There we go. Return to game. Woo, doggy. That's moving really quick. Like, yeah, now it's a little too sensitive. It's like crazy. I love that it works though. I love it. Oh my gosh, thank you to the guys that got this working. So now we're gonna go in, and this is where you gotta fine tune it. Analog controls, let's go down to like, it was at 25, so let's go 75. All right, that's still a little fast, but it's getting better. I'm thinking once we get to like 50 to 60 in there, that'll be cool. Oops, let's not change that one. So we're not using the keyboard or joystick. Let's go 55. My joystick is still reversed. I wonder if I have to like restart the game. Like my right is left and my left is right. This is still getting better. It still seems a little... I mean, 25 was way too slow. Oops. Let's just go 40. We shouldn't sit here and play this all day and goof around with this, because I think we get the idea of... Yeah, this is a little better, maybe a little faster than this. But anyway, it's working. Sensitivity is working. I love it. People were talking about playing Marble Madness on here with the ball and everything. I don't have that loaded up here because that's not one of the pack-in games. But very cool. Centipede, let's try Centipede. Centipede was not playable using the trackball when you sideload it. Centipede did use the ball in the My Arcade version. Oh, it's not loading. Maybe I got a bad file here. Let's do Pac-Man and see if that loads up. Let's see if it's a vertical screen like it's supposed to be. Oh, look at that. We got a vertical screen right off the bat. Let's check out the frame rate, because we've talked about that in the past, where HDMI out has a lot of frame rate issues on this thing. To some extent, it even had some in the side loading. This is very good. I don't know if it's perfect, but it's a lot better than playing the My Arcade version on HDMI out. So, all right, we're not going to stick around in one game all too long. Turbo. I did load this on here because I do have this on a different device. It's not something that came on the Gamestation Go. Actually, it's not going to load. I guess we don't have to worry about that. But the old Sega game, Turbo. Very fun game. If you have a dial controller, a spinner that can go all the way around and around, not just like left or right, and then like stop at like 270 degrees. And Arkanoid, which we also have, so we loaded that on here. Oh, that one's actually working. So if this one works with the dial, that will be awesome, because once again, we could only play this with a D-pad before, which was stupid. Takes a long time to get into the game though, so. Do we have dial? Oh, look at that. We have dial. I wonder if we can pause with anything. Yeah, this actually pauses the game. So we're just gonna crank this up to like 50. Feels a little something's it's not moving real smooth across the screen. It's like moving in chunks. You can kind of see that. That's kind of weird. Normally Arkanoid doesn't do that. Something to play with. Okay, let's go 4x3 games. So Crystal Castles, this is a game that uses the trackball. The My Arcade version works and does use the trackball. But when you side-loaded it, it didn't use the trackball. You can only use the D-pad. So let's check this out. Let's see if trackball is active. Ooh, look at, we are trackballing, my friends. And I don't know this game well enough to know what the sensitivity should be, so I'm not going to pretend to know that. But I will show you a little secret here. If you're new to this game and haven't played this, let me reset this. If you want to go from stage 1 to stage 3 and warp really quickly, I'll show you a little trick on stage 1. So you got your 3D tower here. You can see on the left side of the screen, there's a little, your road, the pathway wraps around the back of the building. If you go back there and go all the way to the furthest back corner, like at the 12 o'clock position on your screen, going back, and then keep pushing up on your rollerball, but jump twice or once. It's like a magic warp that takes you hidden ramp to level 3. So that's the only cool thing I can really show you tonight, but it's still kind of fun. Missile command. Once again, there was no trackball when playing this side-loaded last time. Let's see if we have trackball access for missile command, because this is going to be huge. Technically, we could play it in My Arcade, and it worked really good in My Arcade, but, you know, just to make sure it works in the side-loading. Oh yeah, look at that. Buttons need a little reconfiguring on which base it fires from. But yeah, this is awesome. That works really nice. We're not going to play a full game of that, but all right. Now we're going to get to the thing that pisses me off. I hope this game loads up. Nice. So in the My Arcade version of Warlords, you are not able to adjust the sensitivity of the dial of the spinner in this game. Either in the Atari 2600 port or in the arcade port. And what happens is when you're playing the actual arcade game, you should be able to spin it really fast. So this is my green dial down in the corner. If I spin this thing really fast, yeah, this is kind of like how My Arcade has it set up. You can't zap over to this left side really fast. You need to be able to do that. So see, I'm holding the fireball. What I should do is be able to spin up there and release it and get there before the enemy CPU player can get over there. So now that we know it's crappy right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna adjust the sensitivity. This is gonna be beautiful. This is where my arcade needs to pick up the game a little bit here. So let's go paddle sensitivity. Let's go to 70. I don't know. We'll just start there. What I would like to do is reset the game. I wonder if it saves that. Ah, nice. It does save the setting. All right. So let's put a credit in, press start. I mean, it's still not where we want it. We're going to go 100% and see what 100% gives us here. Where it's getting better. We should be able to definitely yeah, see, now we can get there before the CPU player can spin over there. Or at least we did once, so. Now, you gotta remember too, the more sensitive you make it, the less smooth you get. You know, it moves a little jerkier because you're skipping, I don't know how you want to explain it. It's kind of like skipping frames. Oh, my castle is exposed. All right, but as we've seen, you can adjust the sensitivity of the dial and it actually works. Let's go for Monte Carlo. This is an arcade game that isn't also included on here, and it doesn't look like it's booting up. That's too bad. I really wanted to try this one. Yeah, that's a bummer. Pole position. We do own another copy of Pole Position Arcade ROM, but obviously this one doesn't want to boot up either, so maybe I just have wrong files or something. I don't know. Anyway, what else did we have? We had our PlayStation games that are not going to boot up. They show up in here, which is nice. But they're not going to boot. Oh, is it actually booting? Nope. So for these, I would have to do some kind of conversion to be able to play these two. Maybe that'll be a future video for something like that. What else we got? Super Nintendo, we got those Top Gear games we copied over. And these are games that are included in the My Arcade. Uh-oh, there we go. Top Gear. We played some of these on one of our stream a couple weeks ago. Let's play Top Gear 2. See how well this works. Here's the turbo. Alright, so right now my gas is Y. I'll Turbo is B. And it's running good, no complaints. So this is interesting. I don't know really what it is until I look at it, and you're not going to see it on here. But on the number pad for the Atari 5200 games, I have the 1, 3, and 5 lights lit up. Let's hit one of them. Let's hit 2 of them. Let's hit all 3 of them. Oh, it's going back. Okay, let me, so I think like 1 is a save. And now let's hit 3. Yep, now we go back. So 1 is a save, 3 is a load state. That's kind of cool. And 5 is, I don't know what 5 is. Maybe it erases it. I don't know. But like if I'm right here, let's say on the grass, and I hit 1 to save it, I'll get past this finish line, and I'll go hit 3 to load it. And look, there I am. So it's kind of like a quick little snapshot it takes. That's pretty cool. That's nice. That's a cool little feature. Oh, maybe the 5 is the screenshot button that they were talking about. There we go. 5 is probably loading a bunch of screenshots on my SD card. So it seems to be working good. They don't really have an on-screen menu for changing the button controls. Like they were saying, to change that stuff, you probably got to go into a file somewhere on the SD card and do some tweaking. It should be really easy to do, but and by default also, and you won't see it, but all the buttons, all the lights are on the buttons, so I'm gonna have to play with one of those config files and try and get it to just light up the buttons. The buttons that I want to use, right? And why won't it start? What button do I gotta get to start? All right. Anyway. So if you hit the back button twice, it takes you back to your My Arcade. You used to have to reboot the whole console to get back to this menu. So that's kind of nice. You know, this is what I would do every night when I go to bed. Go into here. Select software update. And if I knew what the hell I was doing, I would go over to update. So it's interesting, you know, it doesn't register anything new for the firmware version. It still says 1.1. So probably just got to make sure not to update that if there is an update. So maybe I won't be going out every night now to check for updates. So. All right, so there you go. We did it. We did a little modding on our Gamestation Go. It's mostly for the side load feature. So I got some more things to play around with, but that was pretty easy. It's basically modifying a couple things on the system. But most of it is your file structure on the SD card. And that was pretty easy to set up, I will say. So looking forward to any other versions that they put out. You know, if they get a version that, see this HDMI cable, like, that's one of the downfalls of this thing, is this HDMI cable that sits out of the top of this thing if you want it plugged in, but it is what it is. So cool update. I'm going to go out to the forums and post a couple of those questions that I had. One of them was, what happens when firmware 1.2 comes out? Do we need to undo something? Do we need to not upgrade to 1.2? Do we need to, or will they adjust for 1.2? I don't know. We got to figure that out. Another thing was, what else did I mention? It was something with the... shoot. I may have to go back and watch the stream. What was the other thing I had brought up that I wanted to ask about in the forums? Yeah, maybe the aspect ratio or something, or I don't remember what it was, but no, very awesome. Fixes a lot of problems, and thank you to the guys who worked on that. I don't know how big the team was. I think, I don't know if Bucky's Revenge was like the lead on this, or if someone else was, and Bucky was like just posting a lot of this information. But very cool stuff. Check that out at the Atari forums, forums.atariage.com. You can see the link or where I am, the breadcrumbs right here on the screen if you want to go through and check that out on your own. Do it at your own risk. If your system breaks or bricks and doesn't boot up afterwards, that's usually not a good thing. That's the risk you take when you mod your systems. So just keep that in mind. If you don't like playing with fire and you don't want to throw this thing in the garbage can, maybe not do the mod and just keep it the way it is. But that's the risk you take, right? Good grief. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Hope you enjoyed that a little bit, even though you don't have a Gamestation Go. Maybe you'll go out and get a Gamestation Go now. Or maybe not. But yeah, I'm looking forward to more of the features of the full RetroArch update whenever that happens. Looking to play around with some of these other emulators on here. I don't really have a big need for these, but since it's on a portable device, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. Well, we always had that conversation in the past, right? Like, how many Atari systems can you keep releasing, and will people keep buying? There has to be something unique to each one that comes out in the future. This one is unique in that it is a handheld and has the special controls on it, so it definitely sets it apart from other Atari systems that have been getting released as of late. So if they're if Atari or whoever they work with is going to release another Atari system to play the same Atari 2600, 5200, whatever games, they're going to have to come up with something big. And the only thing that I've been able to think of is enable Wi-Fi play that allows you to play against another player over the internet. Atari's always stayed away from internet play on their stuff. They're going to get to a point where they're going to run out of options, and it's like, okay, let's work on net play. So maybe in the future, I don't know. Eventually, I'm going to stop buying these Atari systems. How many do I need? I did stay away from the Atari 2600 Plus and the 7800 Plus because I don't want to go out and buy whole new sets of cartridges. When I was 10, 12 years old, we had a gob of Atari cartridges, like a huge collection. And I've got some that I've been picking up here and there just to collect and have packed away in the basement. But yeah, I can't see going out and repurchasing all those games that I had years past. And you know, retro gaming is also not that cheap nowadays. Sometimes you can find some places where you get an Atari cartridge for 99 cents. Other places, you know, a lot more. Or the rarity of them. Hard to find some of the old ones, right? So I don't want to get back into the physical game collecting. I do pick up some cool ones here and there, but you know, I don't need shelves of games on my walls behind me because I've got too much clutter in this room already. I don't need that stuff going on. So all these mini systems that come with the pack-in games like this. This thing has 200 games from my arcade. All the other minis I got have 20 to 50 games on it. So once you start, I always say this, but once you start buying these mini systems, your software library grows exponentially, and you don't have to worry about physical media to save, which is really nice, you know. So it's nice to be able to own this stuff without having the cartridges or the discs or whatever you want to say. So all right, I think that's it for the night. We got some playing to do for doing a little customizing on this stuff, but I would consider this a success. Thanks for joining us. We're streaming every Tuesday night and Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. Central Time for a while, like we did tonight. Sunday mornings around 10 a.m., and that's over on our Twitch channel. If you're watching this on a YouTube recording, thanks for stopping by. If you like random stuff like this, throw us a subscribe and hope to see you back. If you're over on Twitch, throw us a follow, and same thing, hope to see you back here. Good Grief says, thanks for the stream. Have a great night. You too, man. Have a great Friday and awesome weekend. I hope we all have an awesome weekend coming up. Yeah. Actually, I'm kind of tired right now. I think I'm ready. I'm going to fall asleep in like 5 minutes tonight. So thanks for hanging out with us, everyone. Peace out. Happy gaming. Oh, shit. My Gamestation Go just fell over.
Doors slide open. Air smells like dust and sugar. Flicker in the corner calling out my name. Old high score list, my initials halfway down it. Pockets heavy, jangling like I never changed. Retro to this day, stacking quarters just to stay. Wasting all my daylight, chasing pixels, chasing fate. Retro to this day, I grew up, but I remain right here in the glow. Retro, retro to this day.
All right, let's take a few minutes and add an extra little video at the end here talking about the button lights and the button mapping. What we're looking at here on the screen is the SD card back on the computer. We have it opened and we are back in the root position, which means the top level. And looking at the files here, the main file you want to deal with right here is the important button and control info. This is like your map legend. You know, it tells you all of the buttons and all of the values that are associated with them. And the values are what we're going to have to program into the config settings to change the buttons. So, for example, you know, button 1 on your number pad is going to be referred to as 79. Button 3 on your number pad, you know, on the way on the right side there, is going to be referred to in all these files as button 81. You know, your select button is going to be known as 310. Your credit button is going to be known now as 316. your YAB buttons, 307, 308, 305, and you can see going down here. So those are the different values that you'll be using, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But what we're going to start with is this example here. This is for using the button LED lighting system. There's two commands here that you want to use in the scripts. There's an on and an off. And you'll basically be able to copy and paste this entire line into the code, and the only thing you really need to change is the number at the end here for LED X. You want to replace the X with a different value. So if we're working with like the spinner, let's say we're wanting to light up the spinner, we would use the on command. And we'll just make a copy of this here to show you. So we would just take it and paste it into the code where it's needed. And then we need to change the value for X to 14. So this would be your command for turning the spinner light on. Like I said, all you're doing is really changing X for the value that maps, that coordinates down here. So if you wanted the D-pad to light up, you'd use 15. If you want the L1 button to light up, it's 20. You know, so you just use this line in your code, put in the number that you want, and you're good to go. Same thing if you want to use an off command. Instead of, you know, default is everything is on, right? If you wanted to turn certain things off, you do the same thing. You use this command. You just change the value for X in the key LED X field. Like if you wanted to turn the trackball off and make sure it's off, you put 13 in there for the value of X. So that's a nice little guide to help you through this. Let's go into the real world and see where this is used though. So let's close out of our text editor. Down here in the same folder in your root file is start local SDSH. Once again, if you're going to really modify any of these things, make a backup of it first, because if you jack it up, you're probably going to want to put the original file back in place, or you're going to be rebuilding your SD card off of the files that you downloaded. So once again, SDSH, let's edit that or open it with Notepad. If you scroll down in this file, you'll see all the different emulators. And once again, these set the lights per emulator, not really per game. So all of your Atari 2600 lights would be the same for all the different games in that folder. All the different games you put in your Atari 2600 paddle would use the same light structure. Atari 5200, whether the buttons are used or not, you're gonna have to set up the lights. So the lighting is set up at this point per emulator, not really per game. And what I'm talking about is, like, if you go into MAME and you work with all of your different arcade games in there, you have like Centipede. Centipede uses one fire button. If you play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it uses 3 or 4 buttons, 2 or 3 buttons, whatever it is. We don't have the ability to go in per game and set the lights yet. This is more of a per system setup. So let's take the Atari 2600 paddle section for our example. Like I said, all the buttons are probably on as default, so what they have here is a bunch of commands to turn off a bunch of different buttons. So LED 17, 18, 19, 15, if we go back to our map, 17, 18, 19, 15, 17, 18, 19. So they're turning off the lights for B, X, Y, and the D-pad. Is that right? Am I thinking right? Oh, actually, yeah, the D-pad would be off because we want the light for the spinner turned on, right? So here's the command to turn on a light, echo 255. It's specified to key LED 14. If we go back to our configuration file, 14 is the spinner. So this is going to be, basically this code here is saying all I want to see is the A button and the spinner lit up. You know, same thing for the Atari 2600. If you go, it turns off all the buttons you don't need on the pad, and everything else is probably turned on. You can go through all the different emulators and work with the keys, key numbers, and the echoes to turn them on and off. So that's kind of an example. Everything is kind of preset for you, but if you really wanted to change any of the lights, this is the file where you do that. All right. All right, so now let's talk about some button mapping. Once again, this stuff is all kind of predefined. You don't really have to go in and tweak any of this stuff, but if you want to understand how it works, this is a good little tutorial. And what we'll do is go back to the root of the drive here. So we're back at the E drive. Once again, this is the button we were looking at before. I mean, the file we were looking at before that tells us the button mapping. So button 1 is number 79, button 2 is 80, the pound is 11, oh, excuse me. Select button is 310, credit button is 316, so on and so forth. You got values of your X, Y, A, B buttons with different numbers. So let's go see how this is used. So let's flip over to libretto and go in there, and then go into RetroArch. And then in here you have a bunch of config files, and these are like config files for the different emulators. So once again, if you're going to mess with these, make sure you have a backup, or else you might be coming back and doing your restore or the setup again to get these things back. But open them with Notepad, and we're going to use the ColecoVision one for an example, just because it's easy to see what's going on here. So here's all, the first column is all the different button mappings used for the emulator. So we have like input player 1 up, we have player 1, so directional. So let's look at some of the obvious ones here, like start button, select buttons. So if you take like start button here, okay, so it's saying, okay, what I want to do is map the start button, and we're going to map it to button 10. So what is button 10? If we go back to our other file that has the map, and we look for button number 10 going down, we find that it's right here. Button 10 is the little asterisk key on the keypad. So now if we go back to ColecoVision and take a look at it, it's saying that your start button is the asterisk key, right? Your select button is programmed to key 11, or button 11. Let's go see what 11 is. 11 is the number pad. So if you've played ColecoVision in the past, you know that those two buttons at the bottom of your gamepad are like your start and select buttons, so on and so forth. You know, you have like input player 1B button, it's set to button number 305. If we go back and look at the map, you can see that the B button is mapped to 305. So, you know, you can kind of see the correlation going back and forth there. If you needed to change the button layout for some reason, you know, you just go in here and instead of 305, you just put in the value of whatever button you want to use on your Gamestation Go, and then save that file, put the SD card back in your machine, boot it up, and your button mapping should be changed. So that's kind of the quick and dirty. Once again, those config files for the different systems are found in your libretto, RetroArch folders, and then so on and so forth. Going down here, you see the different configs for those emulators. So that's how you can mess with the buttons. Like I said, they're all set up for you for the most part. You shouldn't really need to change anything, but if you were doing some troubleshooting or ran into a problem, this is where you can find the button layouts. So hope that helps. And once we have more tips and tricks on the setup of this thing, we will let you know. Thanks. Have a great day.